Today I'm going to show you my favorite way of germinating seeds. This method competes directly with the paper towel method. I think my method is better than the paper towel method with no additional drawbacks. If you're not familiar with the paper towel method of starting seeds, all you do is get some damp paper towel. You don't want the paper towel to be too damp. You just want it kind of translucent like this. You don't want it to be absolutely soaked. Sprinkle your seeds on, fold it up, put it in a plastic bag, and wait for them to germinate. So you can check on your paper towel after a few days or a week, depending on the seed's germination time, and just see if you have any sprouts. If you do, congratulations, you're done. If not, put them back in, wait a little bit longer. You can also add heat. So I add heat by wrapping it up in a little towel like this and putting it on my heat mat. If you don't have a heat mat but you want to add heat, you can go ahead and put it on a furnace vent in your house, or you can put it on top of your fridge close to the back where the heat source is. Once you have your sprouts, you can put them into pots, and that's the paper towel method. Some of the main benefits of the paper towel method is you get guaranteed germination in your pots. It's also great if you're starting a lot of one variety of seed and your space is at a premium. You can put a lot of seeds in a Ziploc bag like this. I don't recommend mixing varieties as they might mix around and you won't be able to keep track of them, but for single varieties, this is a really, really great option. One of the drawbacks of the paper towel method is it is quite labor intensive, especially when the roots grow into the paper towel and you're going to be spending a lot of time very delicately tearing around the paper towel to isolate the root and put it into the pot. You can leave a little bit of paper towel on your root. You just don't want to damage that root. And so it can be a little bit labor intensive being so gentle with it. My method of sprouting seeds is very similar to how some microgreens growers will sprout their microgreens. You're gonna wanna get yourself 2 trays or a tray and a dome lid like this, but you're gonna need at least 1 tray and then ideally a second tray or a dome lid. I have some painter's tape in the corner here and this just gives me a bearing so I know exactly where my seeds are. When I do a tray like this, I typically start a bunch of different varieties, but all of the same type of plant. So I might do a whole flat of peppers or a whole flat of tomatoes and maybe 9 to 12 to 15 varieties of each. Next thing you're gonna need is some coconut coir. This is what I use for sprouting my seeds. Go ahead and break off a piece and mix it with some water. I didn't have a lot of time this evening when I did it, so I broke it up with my hands, but you could just leave it to soak for a few hours. Once this is all mixed together, you can see what my moisture level is like. If I give it a good squeeze, a little bit of water comes out, but not a lot. There's a lot more forgiveness with the coconut coir. You can be a little bit drier than this, you can be a little bit more moist than this. You don't want your seeds sitting in a pool of water, but a little bit wetter than this, a little bit drier than this, it's still gonna work. Next thing you can see me doing is I'm laying out my coconut coir on my tray. I'm not starting a bunch for this demonstration, so I'm just putting it in the middle here and I'm drawing a little grid. I'm going to be starting 4 different pepper varieties in this tray, so you can see me just sprinkling a few different peppers here, and that painter's tape in the corner enables me to know exactly which variety is in which grid box. Next thing we're going to do here is take our second tray and put it on top, and then I'm going to put this on a heat mat. I find the direct contact of the top tray on the bottom one gives you a lot less moisture loss, which is ideal when you're using a heat mat. You'll get a lot of moisture loss when you're using heat in a dome environment like this. You'll find all the water collects on the top of this dome and your seeds will dry out. So I think that's the main benefit of this method. So let's fast forward a week and we can take a look at how my peppers are doing. The sprouts are looking great. Not perfect germination, but that doesn't always happen, especially because I'm using a mix of some old and some new seed here. Now would be the perfect time to put these into pots. But since I was busy, I'm going to highlight one of the other benefits of this method is I can go ahead and take them off the heat because we don't want the coconut coir to dry out. Take this dome and put it on top of my seeds, and you can leave these under lights for a few days if you're busy. So I got pretty busy and most of my seeds actually ended up dying due to the coconut coir drying out. You can give it a few days if you're on top of watering it. You have a little bit of flexibility there, but I pushed it a little bit too far. So I've only got 1 little jalapeno seed left. I've actually had these in here for a few weeks now. So if they didn't die, they're probably a little bit stunted. So that's not really a fault of the method. That's more a fault of my neglect. But everyone's already starting their seeds or about to start their seeds. So I felt that this would be a good time to get this video out. Anyway, we can at least see in the worst case scenario how easy it is to extract the roots. So I've got myself a little 4-inch pot here. I'm gonna add some soil, And then I'm gonna just make a hole right in here for my plant. Make it a little bit bigger than it needs to be. And then let's see how much easier this is to do compared to the paper towel method. So I can just come right in here and I can pull that whole thing out just like that. And now I'll just tuck that in, push everything around. And that is a lot easier than pulling it out of paper towel. So that's the reason I love this method so much. You can also start a bunch of seeds in this one tray. You can have probably anywhere between 15 and 21 different varieties of seeds in here. I do recommend that they're all the same type of plant, so you could load this up with a bunch of different varieties of tomatoes or a bunch of different varieties of peppers. That's what I use this method for primarily. But if you really wanted to mix different germination rates or different things like that, you have a few options. You could take things out as they sprout and then just cover them back up, put them back on. That's the other thing that's really important, is having the tape on both corners. If any seeds get stuck to the top lid, you're always putting the lid back down the same way it was before, so nothing gets mixed up. Other things you can do with this method, if you need to germinate your seeds with light, like some flowers do, you can put one of these domes upside down on here. I think this is a great way to get germination with light with less moisture loss. And I would say this method works great for anything that you can that can handle transplants well. You know, I've done it with tomatoes, I've done it with peppers, I've done it with celery, which are pretty small sprouts. They still handled it quite well. And I've done it with larger things like pumpkin and cucumber. But I don't really start enough of those to warrant having a whole tray like this, so it's probably just better to just direct sow those in pots. So that's the method. Here's my one surviving pepper. I'm going to give this a little bit more water, and then I'm actually going to keep it further away from the light for a few days just for it to acclimatize to its new environment. And then I'll put them back under lights and it'll be good to go. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope you found this method of starting seeds to be worth your time. I hadn't seen it posted anywhere on the internet outside of maybe some videos on microgreens, so I figured sharing it as more of just a general method for sprouting seeds would be valuable. Hopefully you'll give this method a try in the future, or you'll come up with your own method using some of these ideas. That's all for today. Thanks again for watching, and sleep well tonight.